Taylor Swift's new album drops and Kansas City looks alive again. I don't know what decade we're in, but we got some good football to talk about. My name is Scott.
My name is Deeb.
Let's get into the episode. Pat McAfee said today we got our guy.
How many sixth graders would it take to beat LeBron James in a game? Ready for the ultimate sleepers?
Shedeur Sanders went number 144 in the draft.
Episode 40. Holy moly, Scott. That's older than you and I.
Barely.
Welcome back, people, to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. We're excited. We got some college football, NFL, a little bit of NBA on the way, and some interesting stuff we want to talk about tonight. But Scott, before we get started, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. One thing we didn't talk about last week, and it's kind of crazy that it wasn't top of mind for me, but hockey is back as well as the NBA. And my St. Louis Blues had their first game last Thursday. It did not go well. They lost 5-0. But we've won the next two. So we're 2-1 right now. And I'm going to hold on to that and just be thankful that hockey's back. If you guys are new to the podcast, hockey is my main. The Blues are my main sporting team that I follow very, very religiously. And every year is our year. So this year is our year. But other than that, man, I worked all weekend. I didn't get home till like 10 o'clock on Friday. Had a conference that I was at here locally. Was gone all day Saturday. So just a little tired, but had a really good weekend, kind of connecting professionally with a lot of people, and didn't get to watch as much sports as usual, but that'll happen sometimes. What about you, man? What's good with you?
They should have broadcasted sports on the big screens at the conference. I feel like that should be a thing.
I would agree with you entirely.
But, that's not the type of industry we're in yet. But, we'll see what happens.
I saw a cell phone that was propped up against a water bottle that had the Florida game on at one point.
Yeah, see, they know what's up. They know what's important. I'm doing pretty well, man. Actually, just getting ready to head out on a work trip myself. So I'm going to Philly tomorrow morning, and then I'll be back Friday. So short trip, but looking forward to, I think it's kind of like the final conference, at least of this type of conference that I'll be going to for this season here. So looking forward to wrapping that up. I've actually never been to Philly. Planning on visiting the Rocky statue, maybe if I have time,
Hell yeah.
Gotta get a nice picture or video with that. Maybe I'll try to post it if I can get one.
You're just gonna stand there and be like, "Yo, Adrian."
Yeah, I will.
You got to.
I'm curious, like, how big it is, Like, is it, like, legit, like, a huge statue, or is it, like, actual Sylvester Stallone sized? Because I feel like he's a shorter guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know, but I hope it looks better than the Dwayne Wade statue does down in Miami.
Wow, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I saw that in real life, and it looks just as bad in real life as it did in the photos.
Wow. But yeah, no, outside of that, nothing too crazy. I was able to watch some college football, especially the Oregon game Saturday. Things didn't go as I would like, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, we had our homecoming game for football Friday, had a heartbreaking loss right at the end again. So it seems to be the theme of this year, but we're battling it out. We got 2 games left to go.
Okay, well, get that growth mindset, learn some things. You teach them about perseverance, and
yeah.
Hey, and while you're in Philly, maybe you can learn all about the tush push and bring that home.
Yeah, that actually would be helpful. Maybe I'll see if they have a class on it while I'm there.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was this week or I think it was the week before, but did you see that they ran the tush push like 4 plays in a row? Have we talked about that already? I can't remember.
We didn't, but I did see it. Yeah.
Well, come on, that's so boring. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's a whole conversation we don't need to go down, but
Well, for anybody who's either new, welcome in, or if you're returning, you know the spiel. You can find all of our stuff at singlebarrelsports.com. As long as you spell it right, it'll take you to our page. We are on all sorts of social media platforms, so pick and choose what you like. We post clips, other types of content. Sometimes we'll post bets or things like that if you're interested in tagging along. And we also have a merch store where you can get cool hats and other gear like this that is available now. So check it
Hell
out.
yeah. Go buy some stuff. Go drop some likes and follows. We'll keep bringing the content.
All right, you ready to get into some sports?
Yeah, yeah. And you know how it is. Let's start with a term of the week this week. What do we got?
All right, back to the old reliable. Well, we actually really haven't done a football term, I think, in a couple weeks. So for this week, Scott, we have mesh concept. Mesh concept. Is this
Hmm.
something that you've heard of?
I
And
have.
if someone asked you on the street, what would you say?
Yeah. So it's not usually the word that I use for it, but I have heard it. And it's not, it's not like the type of jersey or fabric that we're talking about. It's not, mesh in that sense. But really, what it is trying to design plays in a way where receivers are kind of like running across each other's pathways to create kind of a what they would call like the mesh, right, where everything's kind of coming together there. And the purpose for this, if I recall, Deeb, is really just to try and create some chaos that might get defenders to bump into each other or to skirt past some zones and make people kind of choose which person they're trying to cover in that moment. And as a guy who has played on the defensive side of the football, it is tough either way. Because if you're in man coverage, there's a lot of people that are running in the opposite direction you want to try to not run into.
Yep.
And if you're in zone, let's say you're a middle linebacker and they're running slants to go in each direction, and you're covering that center zone. You have to kind of make a choice to lean one direction or the other. Otherwise, both guys run past you and they're both uncovered. So it's really a strategy that is designed to cause some confusion, some chaos, some quick decision making from the defensive side of the football, and maybe cause defenders to even run into each other and create kind of a natural pick to where your wide receivers free up and get open. Is that kind of what you had in mind, or I'd love to hear if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah. No, I think you did a really nice job of explaining it. Yeah. So the interesting part about it too is I think, like you said, maybe it may also have some other names. But were you thinking of a different name for this? Because I've heard it called, I think, a couple different things.
I mean, just in casual conversation, we used to just call it cross routes, like crossing routes.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
thinking of.
Yeah, or we said earlier, like setting a pick, for example. But this is kind of like an inverse of setting a pick, right? Because you're trying to make the defense run into their own player and not get one of your guys to be in their way. So yeah,
Yeah,
we used to say cross them up or things like that would be kind of how we described it. But I have heard it called mesh as well, mesh
yeah,
routes.
yep, yeah. I've heard it called crossing route as well, or something like that. It's interesting because I didn't really know the term mesh. That's not a term that we ever used. And number one, the team I played for didn't really pass the ball, so it wasn't something that I never really experienced playing wise. But I actually never really heard of the concept until I played like college football or the NCAA or Madden games,
Hmm.
because I would notice that some of the plays would be called like mesh something. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then I noticed that when you pick those plays, they have those crossing routes where you send two guys like directly one above, one below. So that's, I think, where I actually heard of the term first, was actually through video games. But I was curious, like, what is the history behind this? Like, where did this concept come from? So
Yeah.
apparently, it traces back to the 70s and 80s. There was a couple guys there at BYU who apparently, back then they were running kind of like this pass heavy West Coast style offense. And um, that's where it was like started. Now, it
Hmm.
didn't, I don't think, gain popularity though until people like Mike Leach, RIP, and then another guy named Hal. I think his name's Mummy or Mum. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but they started running more of what's known as the air raid offense. They had people like Tim Couch, Cliff Kingsbury, and Baker Mayfield on some of these different teams out there that were really known for well or ran these types of plays pretty well. So Mike Leach, I think, is really the one that sticks out to me more recently because he used to use things like wheel routes or also incorporate other things like swinging running backs out while running the mesh route. So
Mhm.
I mean, today it's very common. You'll see a lot of NFL teams and college teams run this type of stuff, even high school. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say, particularly, I've seen more of this in the NFL level where one of the guys is intentionally really not intended to be the target for the pass to create even more chaos. Like they're getting even closer to setting what we would call like a real pick in basketball.
yeah,
Um, and sometimes they get called for penalties for that because it's like kind of obvious that they were setting a pick. So yeah, it definitely has its pros and cons, but if executed correctly, it can be challenging to defend this type of a pass play.
yeah, definitely. So that is the mesh concept.
Hell yeah, it's a
Um,
good one. I like that.
yeah, we'll move into weekly recap. So we just have a couple things from college football and NFL. Um, College football wise, I think I kind of mentioned this in the opening. Indiana took down Oregon at Autzen Stadium, which is not an easy thing to do in a battle of the top 10. Curious, Scott, what your reaction to that game was.
I said last week that I thought Oregon would win, but not by as much as the spread was. But I rode them anyway because the last time I bet against them, I was wrong. And so, yeah, I thought that they might take this one, but I think what we saw was just the real legitimacy shown of who Indiana is. And I can't recall if I said this on the podcast or not, but when they beat Illinois by 50, I kind of said to myself, like, this team might be legit, right? Because like you don't beat another highly ranked team by that many points. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I could have seen this going either way, but I was kind of surprised with the outcome. I thought Oregon would win even if it was close. So more importantly, I'm curious what your thoughts are as the guy who lives and breathes Oregon football.
Um, I had a feeling that it was going to be a tough game because the more I watched and learned about Indiana, because I wasn't as familiar with them, the more I felt it was a tough matchup overall because they have a very good defensive line. So that was going to be a challenge up front. Their quarterback is actually really good. I think last year they didn't have as good of a quarterback. So it's a guy that transferred over from, I believe he played at Cal. He's actually played Oregon prior
Mm,
in the past years. And so he could ball. They got a couple great wide receivers. They have a talented running back. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, like their team, talented linebackers as well. Overall, like their team is solid. So that the more I learned about them, the more I was like, oh man, I did think that Oregon could pull it out because it was at home, and they're very hard to beat at home. So that was
mhm.
the probably honestly the most surprising of the whole thing was that they lost at home because they, to this point, had the longest consecutive win streak at home of any team running. So that sucked. But the the what I think generally speaking happened from what I could see was, I mean, they had a great game plan to get to the quarterback. So that's one thing I have not seen yet this year of everybody that Oregon's played. Like, they have protected Dante Moore very well, and he's had time, and when he has time, he makes plays. I think they sacked him like 5 or 6 times, which is
Yikes.
more than he's been sacked all year combined. So I think that was a huge difference maker. They were getting to him, they were getting pressure, they were sacking him. He wasn't able to make those throws that he has been. And I mean, man, they limited them to like I think it was under 100 yards in the second half total or something like that. So, like, their offense just could not find anything. It was very brutal to watch, and I think it was honestly much more of a defensive game overall, but, yeah, I think, Indiana is the real deal. I still think Oregon is still a young team, so, yet to see if, like, hey, is Indiana gonna go all the way? Could they go all the way? I don't know. I mean, part of it could also be Oregon being younger and having
Mhm.
a, quote unquote tough challenge here, but
Yeah,
um,
it's an interesting thing. We had talked about who we thought might be the conference champions for each of the major conferences last week, and trying to think about who would be in those games. And after that win, their Indiana is now well positioned to go to the Big Ten championship game against likely Ohio State,
yeah,
and they are by far the highest betting odds now after Indiana beat Oregon.
yep,
So it's crazy in a week how things with big implications can change like that. I, Indiana was climbing that list, but they certainly weren't favored to be in the Big Ten championship game until after they beat Oregon, and now they have a comfortable kind of gap between the next best team, which is Oregon.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, disappointing, but one or two losses doesn't completely destroy your season with the new college football playoffs. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, Oregon could easily still make the playoffs here. I don't think it's a dead season by any means, and maybe a wake up call for them too. I guess we'll see,
yeah, and
how they respond.
I would honestly almost prefer that they didn't go undefeated because I feel like then they can be the sneak attack underdog team rather than like last year they were the favorite and we all know what happened.
Yeah,
So but in other news, Scott, Northwestern takes down Penn State for their third loss in a row. And hey, James Franklin was fired after the loss.
bye bye. Honestly, I had high hopes as I said many times. Thought this team maybe win the championship this year, not the national championship, but the Big Ten championship. And James Franklin, he looks like the head coach that he has been. He can't win in the big game. His stats against ranked teams are really bad. His stats against top 10 teams are even worse. And they lost to Oregon, and then they lost two more times in a row, like you said. And eventually, with the how much money he gets paid, and the fact that that school is always in contention and usually in the rankings, you got to let a coach go if you can't kind of push forward from where you're at. And that's what they did. And good luck to him and good luck to them. But yeah, Penn State's done. We're not going to see anything promising from them for the rest of the year. And I think Drew Aller went out this week too. He's out for the whole season with an injury. So they lost their quarterback and their head coach in the same game. Time to start the rebuild. They better be recruiting.
Yeah, they need to get a coach with hair.
And I will say too, the recruiting thing is challenging. I've actually seen some people decommit this week after the
Yeah.
firing of James Franklin.
Yep.
Um, so they're going to need a certain type of mentality to start building that team up, and they might not be good for a couple of years. It's who knows? It's way too early to tell.
Yeah. Yep. UCLA, Scott, is on a streak and they win big over Michigan State this week. So are they turning it around?
I don't think this was a relevant game. I don't think this game doesn't really tell you anything. Michigan State's not really that good either.
That's fair.
I mean, I hate to say that for our Michigan State fans, but I didn't tell a lie. you know.
Two truths, one lie. Oh.
Yeah, I mean they're always going to be little brother.
Well, Scott, and Big Brother news, USC took down your Michigan Wolverines. So
Yeah, that
you want to explain yourself?
Yeah, it's just we need a year or two. We have a young, talented quarterback. We have a really, the top running back prospect coming in next year. We need a year or two to mature. We'll be back. But yeah, this was the game that I was saying. Obviously, when we talked, I said Oklahoma scared me. And then after the Oklahoma game, when I looked at the calendar, I knew Nebraska would be tough, but I thought we could win. I was looking at this USC game and I was like, could be tough. Going on the road playing against them, it could be tough. And yeah, I mean, they just had our number. They beat us. And, Michigan is looking like probably not going to make the playoffs at this point this year, which is okay. I think the next year will be good. I think we'll be fine. But we can still beat Ohio State and we can still beat Michigan State. There's still some promising football ahead.
I thought that if they, like, let's say they won this game, I thought that they had a higher chance at losing to Michigan State because it's just like kind of out of the blue. Not because Michigan State's good, but anything can happen in those weird matchups. But now that they lost to USC, I feel like they're going to be pissed when they play MSU. So I don't think they're going to lose anymore.
Yeah, I think all it's a weird thing with the season and the rivalries because now I think all signs point towards the Ohio State game being their Super Bowl for this year now.
Yeah.
Which did it need any more hype than it already has? Probably not, but Ohio State is looking phenomenal. I mean, they look better every week. But Michigan's beaten them 4 times in a row, and Michigan is at home this year. And Michigan was a 27-point underdog last year, so you just never know.
It's fair. Uh, NFL news. Sam Darnold is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Scott.
I mean, everybody wondered last year, is it because he's in the Kevin O'Connell system with the great elite wide receivers on the Vikings, or is Sam Darnold actually making a career comeback? And nobody really knew what to expect when he got, sent over to Seattle. There were a lot of question marks, and he's doing great. The team looks strong. JSN looks phenomenal. That helps a lot. But Darnold's doing his thing out there, man. He's balling and he's getting touchdowns to other people. It's not just going to JSN every time. So yeah, I mean, I'm a Sam Darnold truther at this point. I don't think he's MVP quality, but he certainly is good enough to win you football games and make you competitive.
Yeah, I mean, he has some weapons. Let's put it that way. Like, I think he's also not playing in a place where there's absolutely no one to throw the ball to. And, the running back situation is kind of interesting, but I don't think it's a horrible running back room. I just think they're still working some stuff out slash committee work.
Yeah, I think their running backs are both good, and they're just trying to figure out how to utilize both of them, which makes it kind of a nightmare for fantasy football, but kind of ideal if you're a head coach.
Well, in other news, Scott, the Patriots are tied with the Bills for the top of the division right now. Are the Patriots the real deal now this year?
I mean, I've been high on the Patriots. I just thought they might be a little too young to make any broad stroke claims. I think they are the real deal, and I think they're going to be good for the next several years. I don't know how far they go this year. Like I do think they have some limits this year just because of how young they are. But when you look at that team, they're doing a lot with what seemed like a little. You got
Yeah.
guys like Kayshawn Booty, who's like a second or third year. I think he's a third year player, kind of having a resurgence all of a sudden. Drake May is looking great in his sophomore season. Some people think Drake May could be MVP this year. He's currently ranked fourth in MVP odds right now. You've got other guys on that team too that are young. You got Travion Henderson, who's barely even getting used yet. He's going to be a stud. So yeah, I mean they have a great football team, but they're very young and haven't all played together for very long. And I feel like when you get to the playoffs, sometimes that experience does matter. So yeah, I think this team is legit. I think they're the real deal. I still think the Buffalo Bills will win that division, but I think the Patriots have a real shot at making the playoffs and maybe even winning a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned last week that I would consider, is there a chance that the Chiefs get in instead of the Patriots? It's still to be determined. I mean, they just beat the Lions, so they're heading in the right direction, but we'll see how it ends up playing out at the end of the year or if that, continues on. But should Baker Mayfield be leading the MVP race so far, especially with almost every single person on his team that is a weapon being hurt right now?
Hey, no arguments here. I'm I've always liked Baker. I think he's a fun quarterback. He's a fun guy to kind of get behind, but he has been everything that anybody could ask for and more this year so far. He's out what his top 3 receivers are hurt and his starting running back is hurt, and they're just winning football games. It's like nobody ever went down. He's still throwing touchdowns.
Yeah.
They're still winning games. They're 5-1. They're the top NFC team right now. They have the highest record in the entire league, tied
Mhm.
with the Colts, which is who the hell would have said that in the preseason? So yes, Baker Mayfield should absolutely, in my opinion, be leading the MVP race. If you look at the odds makers, they actually have Patrick Mahomes as number one, Josh Allen as number two, and then Baker.
Hmm.
But at this point, man, at
Weak.
this point, I probably would put Baker ahead of both of them. They're looking forward, so I can see what the odds people are saying here.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think for where we're at, Baker should be in the front.
Yeah. He's my fantasy football quarterback too, but my team's horrible, so. Speaking of fantasy football, how about we talk a little fantasy football?
Let's do it.
All right, we got some fantasy football updates. So this week we're just going to do one segment, Scott, and we're going to call this "Hot or Not."
Okay.
So I got a list of 6 different things in here. From the list, we can go back and forth on these, calling out whether the player trend or take is hot or not. So
Okay.
kind of give your take on it. So how about if I start and then you can go with the second one? We can kind of just go back and forth.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
All right, Travis Etienne Jr. of the Jags, still hot or cooling off?
Hmm. You know, it was a slower week for that offense. He does have a young running back that looks kind of promising behind him. I think it's too early to say that he's cooling off, though. I would say he's still hot. He's still in the top 5 running backs when it comes to rushing yards. The team just needs to find more of an identity. They were 4-1, which I said last week was kind of crazy and hard to believe. They did lose this week, but they have an opportunity to bounce back. They're at home against a tough Rams team, though. So it'll be a tough game, but I wouldn't give up on ETN quite yet.
Yeah, so I just looked at my fantasy league to see what his points were. 18.6, 16.9, 11.6, 19.5. Then the last 2 games, 8.8, 9.5. So
Hmm.
he's definitely dropped off from where he started, but it's not like he got like 2 points or something, you know. He's like kind of just
Yeah,
like backed off a little bit.
and it's tough too if you've got a running back that gets 8 or 9 points, but they didn't score a touchdown. Like that's still a good game. If they scored a touchdown, all of a sudden that's a 15-point week. So
Yeah.
it's very hot and cold depending on if you score or not. So I'm not
Yep.
ready to give up on ETN yet. I know that last year was a weird year for him, but he's looked okay this year. He's looked kind of like his older form. I don't know that I feel like he is like a top 5 running back or anything like that, but I think he's worth still kind of riding that wave on.
Yep, for sure. What you got?
All right, Sam Laporta as your tight end 1 for the rest of the season.
Um, I
Let me
mean,
clarify this because
yeah.
this prompt here, Deeb. Are you defining this as the tight end 1 for the league or for like your own fantasy team?
Um, I think I think what I meant when I had that in there was like the leading overall tight end.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, like tight end number 1 in the whole NFL.
Yep. Gotcha.
Um, I don't know, man. Tight end is so hard cuz like there's so many people that get looks at tight end and that can just go off. And it's like random people too that sometimes, you know, like the dude for what the hell's the guy? I think I picked him up for the Jets. Like he didn't do well this past week. I picked him up and he's
Yep.
on my Mason Taylor. No, yeah, Mason Taylor. You know, he was like kind of going off for a couple games. I mean, he started out not great, and then he was just like, 11 points, 17 points. So I think Laporta, when I look at his stats, I mean, he has been pretty consistent so far. I'm trying to think of who else would outdo him or, would be like pretty close at the end of the year, right? Because I know right now there's probably a few people. I mean, he's having a pretty good year. He had a few games, like games 2 through 4, he didn't do as well, but he put up 20.2 and 16.5 the last 2 games, and then 13.9 in the first game. So I mean, he's doing
Hmm.
pretty well. Let me I do want to just check and see like who is the leading tight end right now.
Yeah, that's gonna
Um,
depend on your scoring system, but we're looking at guys like Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys, Tyler Warren for the Colts. They're kind of and then Trey McBride. They're kind of like the top 3 right now in most fantasy leagues.
okay, yeah, and I mean, Tyler Warren, he's a rookie, right? So he could
Hmm.
also have like what Sam Laporta had his rookie year.
Yeah,
I mean, he's in the top. He's for sure in the top 5 right now. I think he finishes in the top 3 for sure.
talking about
I
Laporta.
Yeah, I don't know if he's
Mhm.
number 1, but I think top 3. So I think it's not a hot take. It's kind of like in the middle take.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that Laporta is having a good year again. Definitely, it's nice to see him getting back to the form from his rookie year. I think if I were to pick my tight end one for the year, I think it would. Maybe this is shocking, maybe it's not. I think it might be Tyler Warren. You
Yeah.
know, he's on a team right now with the Colts that has really looked good, and Daniel Jones looks comfortable getting him a lot of targets. I'm I'll have to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure he's only scored 2 touchdowns this year, but he's ranked second place in most fantasy football leagues among tight ends.
Yeah.
Jake Ferguson has just been target heavy, and I think that's because that in one game he had like 12 or 14 receptions, and he's also got 4 touchdowns. But I don't think that's going to be as sustainable once CD Lamb comes back. So I think Ty Warren is going to be my pick for tight end one, if not probably Trey McBride. But yeah, I mean, there's tight end's a weird thing; it could change really quickly, and we haven't seen Kittle since week one. Otherwise, we know he would be in this conversation as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Yours is starting Dak Prescott over Patrick Mahomes.
Nope, that's not hot. That is not a hot take. Um, Patrick Mahomes is going to get Rashee Rice back this week. He's already looking good with his other weapons that he's got: Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelsey. They don't really have a running game that's very good, and they are playing against. It was the Raiders. They're playing at home against the Raiders this week. I expect that Patrick Mahomes looks phenomenal and eats up a bad defense here. And the Cowboys are playing against the Commanders, which is not an easy game, but also not as hard as it may have been last year. I do think Dak will have a good week this week, but definitely I would side with Patrick Mahomes this week over Dak Prescott.
What about just overall though, like for the year? Because I think and Dak is having a pretty good year so far, other than maybe one game.
Yeah. Listen, this might be just hater energy in me, but no, I'm taking Mahomes for sure. And just looking at my own fantasy league, Patrick Mahomes is the QB1 in the whole league right now. Dak is number 3.
Mm,
And I just think that we haven't even seen Patrick Mahomes' best wide receiver yet this year. He comes back this week. It's only going to get better.
yeah,
Yeah, I would just have a hard time putting Dak above Mahomes because of consistency and just the number of weapons that he's got on the team.
that's fair. What you got?
All right. Hot or not, do we think that Ty Spears will overtake Tony Pollard in the Titans running back committee?
So an interesting case. So he had a high ankle sprain in the preseason. He was out for I think like
4 weeks.
4 games, yeah, and then he
Yeah.
returned to practice and he was activated about 10 days ago. I don't know. I mean, I think he's definitely more talented than Tony Pollard. I don't think Tony Pollard's horrible by any means, but will he overtake him? I think that's not a hot take. I think that he definitely has a chance to overtake him, but I do think they'll probably end up sharing. It'll be a committee moving forward. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to be a committee unless he just starts going off, and then maybe he'll just get the majority of the carries.
This is one of my takes from the offseason, and I was pretty vocal about I believe I'm a Ty Spears truther, and I think that he's better than Pollard. And I said early on in the offseason that he would be the lead running back this year. Then of course he got hurt in the preseason, was on the PUP list, missed 4 games. But I'm pretty sure this was his second game back, and if again I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I read that he actually had more touches this week than Pollard did already, and only his second game back. I
Yeah.
think that this has already happened. I think that backfield is Spears's to take over. It only makes sense in a very young team. You got young quarterback, young wide receivers, Spears, very young running back. Like build a core team around them. And like you said, I think Spears is more talented than Pollard is anyway. I think the takeover has already happened, and we're going to see more evidence of that this coming week.
I was trying to look up if they had the number of carries for both of them. Um, yeah, I mean he definitely has more. This says he played 59% of snaps, and
Okay.
Pollard played 43%.
Okay. Yep.
So
And Pollard did actually. I just looked myself. Pollard had 11 touches, and Spears had 9. but
Yeah.
Spears is on the field more. So yeah, I mean, and that will shift more and more. I think I agree with you. I think Pollard will still be playing every week this year. It will still be committee type of a situation.
Yeah.
But I think it's Spears' backfield moving forward, if you ask me.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Yours is AJ Brown as wide receiver number 1 versus the Vikings defense this week. Do you want him at your wide receiver 1 slot on your team?
No. No. I mean, there's no debating that AJ Brown is an incredible talent, but this guy has had a very awful season by all standards. He's had a good game or two, but that's because he's had a lot of complaining and talking to the media and posting on Twitter all these cryptic messages about he's not happy, basically, is what I'm getting to. He's not happy. That team is not throwing the ball well overall. And yeah, it just seems like you don't comfortably start any wide receiver on that team right now. And that's a shame because they've got some good ones, but that's just the truth of the
Yeah.
situation. Now, if you've got him on your team and you can start 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers and you've got a flex spot, then like, yeah, you're probably going to start him, but I wouldn't consider him for the wide receiver 1 spot at any time until he starts to prove consistency. And again, it's probably not even his fault, but that team is just not throwing the ball very well this season.
And Minnesota's defense is really good versus the pass.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, he had one game where he had 22.9 in my league and one game where he had 14. Other than that, it hasn't been much.
Yeah, dog water. All right, last one here. Bucky Irving to be back next week versus the New Orleans Saints. So not this week against the Lions, but next week. And if you recall, Bucky's the one he had this weird, like he had an ankle injury, went out, and then like the next week, all of a sudden disclosed that he also had a shoulder injury, and there hasn't really been a lot of information about either. Um, it's already been they already came out and said he's not playing this week against the Lions. So this is for you, Deeb. Is he? Do you think he'll be back next week for the Saints?
I think that is a hot take. I know he's not in this week. I don't know if he'll be in for New Orleans. Um, it's hard to tell, honestly. And if he is in, how limited will he be, right? Because,
Mhm.
sometimes they try to get people back on and I mean, if Rashad White's doing the job, why are you going
Yep.
to risk getting him injured again if he could have another week to rest or get better? So I don't think he will, but we'll see.
Yeah, my take on this is if your coach comes out on Monday and says you're already not playing next week and your game's not until Monday, then I have low confidence that you're going to be ready to start a football game the following week because you have 7 days and your coach is already saying hell no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would not expect him against the Saints, and like you said, if we did see him, I would expect very limited touches.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that is this week's fantasy football, hot or not.
Hell yeah.
We're moving on to fan favorites. So we're going to college football, mid-season predictions and betting odds.
Oh
So
gosh.
basically, I've pulled the betting odds for two things, Scott: the Heisman Trophy winner and the national champion. And we're going to go through who are the top 5 and just kind of, give some thoughts to our predictions and or just where we see things going for the rest of the year for some of these people. So, Heisman Trophy, I'll give you the current betting odds on BetMGM is where I pulled it, and then what the opening odds were according to them. So in the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So number 1 on the list is Carson Beck. Current odds is plus 350. His opening odds were plus 2,000.
Phew.
Um,
I'm surprised
Tyson.
that they were that big, actually. I mean, I guess there were a lot of quarterbacks that have not been good this year that everyone thought they would be. So I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Second right now is Ty Simpson from Bama. Current odds plus 350 as well. Opening was plus 5,500. So way not as good as back in the beginning.
Man.
Third is Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. Current odds is plus 550. Opening plus 550. Sorry,
I didn't even know
5,500.
this guy. I didn't even know who this guy was until like 3 weeks ago. So that makes sense that the opening odds for that long. But man, he's been good.
Yeah, and his brother also plays for Indiana, and he's also a quarterback, I believe.
Nice.
Um, Fourth is probably, I mean, well, according to the numbers, the person who may have been the favorite going into the year, Jeremiah Smith from OSU, current odds plus 1,400, opening odds plus 1,300. So he's actually gone down in the
Yeah.
odds.
I mean, he was right up there with Arch Manning at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And then last on the list right now, or fifth, Julian Sayin, which is kind of wild, from
Yeah.
Ohio State, plus 1,500. Opening was plus 2,000.
It's insane to me to see Sayin on there. I can't lie. I mean, it makes sense. He's having a good year, but just based upon, you know, wasn't he like a redshirt freshman? I forget. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to be as good as he's been. I'm just going to full out come out and say it. And he's been good. I'll give credit where it's due. But yeah, I actually thought that QB might be a weak spot on their team this year, and it has not. Julian Sayin looks like he's the real deal. So yeah, crazy stuff. It's also crazy that he opened at plus 2,000. I would have thought it'd be a little bit higher.
Yeah. So I was just looking. So I think he is actually a sophomore.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Um, so he's a former 5-star for Alabama, and he transferred to Ohio State from there.
That's what it was. He was a transfer. Okay, yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it just goes to show you that I don't know everything about college football because I didn't realize this guy was a 5-star recruit either. But he's definitely living up to it. Got to give him credit.
yeah. Another interesting thing is, so he's from California. He actually in high school, his brother was actually the starting quarterback ahead of him, and then he ended up becoming the starting quarterback later on. So didn't
That's
really know
interesting.
that. I was just curious, looking some stuff up.
So, Deeb, out
Um,
of those five, who do you think, like, if you had to choose today, who do you think will win the Heisman?
well, I mean, just looking at the remaining schedules for some of these teams, I would say, I mean, Miami, I think, has a pretty, I would call it easy schedule. Um, Moving forward, I don't think they don't have anybody that's that crazy from my understanding. I was just fact checking that real quick. They have Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get upset by like an SMU or Syracuse potentially, but that's not a tough
Probably not.
schedule moving
Yeah, probably
forward.
not.
Bama has a tougher schedule, probably the toughest, I would say, right, out of this group. Um, they still have to play Tennessee this week, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, and then
Holy
they get
shit.
Eastern Illinois, which is I don't even know why they're on there, and then Auburn at the end. So that is a tough remaining schedule to go through.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real, man. I'm gonna be real. I don't care about the schedule. I think Ty Simpson looks legit. I'm gonna say Ty Simpson is my prediction for Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Indiana kind of has a simple schedule as well. They play Michigan State, UCLA, which could be an upset alert game. You never know. Maryland, they're okay. I mean, they were looking
No.
better earlier.
Mm,
They were looking
no.
better earlier, but Penn State's a wash. Wisconsin sucks. Purdue sucks. So Mendoza has a pathway for it. And then, I mean, I don't know. Ohio State never plays anybody other than,
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that their rest of their year is gonna be pretty cake also. They have Wisconsin, Penn State, which Penn State should have been good, but it won't be. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and then Michigan. So um yeah, it sounds like Miami probably maybe has the easiest route, and then I would say Ohio State probably the second easiest out of that group.
yeah. I mean, I think between Beck and Simpson, those are most likely. Of course, the odds say that, but I think Carson Beck probably has the highest chance to win it, in
I'm
my
just waiting for
opinion.
him to choke in a big moment. I just feel like that's what I think about when I see him just from his Georgia days, but maybe I'm just a hater. I've been known to have hater energy towards specific teams and players. I'm not a
Well,
Bama fan by any means, but I feel like the way that they've bounced back and the way that Simpson has played has just really been impressive. So my money would be on him, but certainly, I mean, Carson Beck will be in the running for sure.
yeah, I just think Alabama's schedule is brutal, so I don't know that
It is
Simpsons.
very brutal. If they make
Yeah.
it through that schedule unscathed, then they should be, like at least the number 2 team, if not number 1, in my opinion. Is I don't think anyone's gonna rank them higher than Ohio State, but if Alabama beats all of those teams, I think they should bump up to number 2. I know Miami's a great team too, but the strength of schedule has to matter a little bit, in my opinion.
Oh, I mean, if they beat all of those teams, then they should definitely be ranked number 1. Like, Ohio
Yeah.
State has played I mean, okay, they played Illinois. Who else have they played this year?
Yeah, it's kinda crazy that they're
Texas at the first game, like that.
well, here's the
Yeah.
thing, their schedule looks tough at the beginning of the year because Texas was ranked 1 and Penn State was ranked 2 coming into the year, but
Right,
now Texas and Penn State are not even ranked. So
right.
it's just like
So,
their
yeah, their
schedule
strength of
suddenly really isn't
schedule.
that hard.
Yeah. Yep. But, yep, we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I think Carson Beck has the easiest route, and then Miami chokes in the playoff. So,
Well, that'll
um,
make this next part interesting. So let's go
yeah.
through the national champions then. What do you got for that?
Yeah, so, BAM or excuse me, national champion odds, we have OSU number 1, current is plus 350, opening plus 450, so not that crazy off. Bama plus 600, was plus 1,200 opening, kind of interesting. Miami plus 800, was plus 3,500 opening. I think rightfully so. I think Miami is usually overrated, I'll be honest. Indiana is plus 900. They were plus 10,000, which is wild. But again, not usually historically that great of a team. And then Georgia is plus 1,000, and opening they were plus 600. So they've actually dropped off.
Yeah, I mean they lost to Bama. That hurt. Um,
Yeah.
okay, well, same question for you. Looking at this list, who do you think will be our national champion out of those 5 teams?
I'm trying to remember, who did I even say? Did we did I know you picked Georgia because I feel like you agreed with the Chat GPT prediction.
Mhm.
I do not think Ohio State will win it again. I think they may go deep. They may even go to the game potentially. But I don't think they win it again. Generally speaking, that's it's going to be tough to get through the playoff. I believe tougher than last year. I mean, like you said, if Bama can make a run, if they get through all that, I'd be just curious. They still have enough in their tank when
Right.
they get to a playoff. Miami is well positioned with their schedule to coast to the end, but I Mario Cristobal chokes in big games. I've seen it when he coached at Oregon, so I don't know. The guy just has something weird about clock management and stuff. Indiana is an interesting one. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not just saying that because they beat Oregon. I just like they have a cake rest of their schedule. I'm curious what their if they do go to the Big Ten championship and what if they beat Ohio State? Like, are they then positioned as, the favorite? And then Georgia's always in it. Like,
Yeah.
never count them out. But
I'm I'm gonna be real when it comes to national championship predictions. I really don't care about who's a conference champion. I think that a lot of this comes down to who is the hot team at the time. And sometimes I wonder if playing a bunch of cake matchups is actually bad for you. Like if you
yes.
get out of that highly competitive mindset. I This is such a challenging time of the season to make this pick. My heart is telling me Bama, which is crazy for me to say. My mind is telling me, and this is my actual answer, I'm going to stick with my guns because I don't like to go back on something. And I'm going to keep riding Georgia here. They don't have an easy schedule, but they do have an easier schedule than Bama. So they will stay competitive, but likely still be winning football games. And I think they could potentially win if they can make it far enough into the playoffs. They've been very competitive in the big moments.
Yeah. So I think the reason why I was having trouble with giving you an answer was I actually think there's 2 teams that are not on this list that I think can make a run and potentially either get to the national championship or win it, and those 2 teams are Texas A&M and M and Texas Tech.
I knew you were going to say A&M. I wasn't sure about the other one.
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M is very talented. They have played well this year. They do have to play Arkansas or LSU next week, which is gonna be tough, and Mizzou, which is gonna be tough, and they have to end in Texas, right? So, but if they can get through that, I think they are the real deal. If they can get through this tough schedule, even if they just have 1 loss. Texas Tech, man, I'm telling you, I know people will say they're in a weaker conference or whatever. I mean, they have to face, like we talked about the other week, Arizona State and BYU are the kind of the top teams or whatever in their conference. But Texas Tech, I think, spent a lot of time and money in the portal and just getting the roster that they want. And so far, they have looked legit. Like I will be I will be curious if they run all the way to the end and they get to the playoff, how they look against, some of the other schools, but
Mhm.
don't count either of those 2 teams out. I think they could be the surprise of the playoff and potential national champion run coming up.
Yeah, well, I just so you know, they are by the odds, they're ranked 7th and 8th to win the national championship,
Yeah.
with A&M being 7th, Texas Tech being 8th. The people above them, just to run through for completion here, is Ohio State, Alabama, Miami, Indiana, Georgia, and Oregon.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, it could be anybody's game, and really, there's teams behind them that I could see playing upset as well. You got, I know they lost this week, but there's still Oklahoma. There's Ole Miss. There's LSU if they can start to get looking more competitive again. There's all kinds of teams, and I think this year has felt more competitive watching college football than others. There's been a lot more upsets, in my opinion. Every
Yeah.
week, it feels like a top 10 or 2 top 10 teams lose, and so yeah, we're in a really sweet spot for college football right now, where anything could happen still at this point.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, that's our college football mid-season predictions and betting odds. So, let us know what you think. Who do you think is going to win the Heisman, and who do you think is going to win the national championship so far, based on what we've seen? Scott, we're going to move into the next segment, which is some NFL interesting facts. I know this is one that you had sent over an image of all these different facts. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to do for this one today?
Yeah, I think weird facts, weird stats, those are really kind of fun to sprinkle into the conversation sometimes. And I found this to be really cool. It has one fact about each team in the NFL. We're gonna just start with 6 teams that are gonna all fall in the NFC. But basically, and Deeb and I both have the same reference sheet here, so we are gonna kind of bounce back and forth, just sharing a random fact that you may not know about 6 of the different NFC teams tonight. And I can start here. The first one being the San Francisco 49ers. And this is not something I knew previously, but the San Francisco 49ers actually invented the shotgun formation. And if I recall from you looking this up, Deeb, they used it originally against the Lions and kind of kicked
Hmm.
their ass with it. Is that correct?
Yeah, October 1st, 1961, their coach, Red Hickey, I'm not making this up.
Red Hickey.
Red Hickey is the guy who apparently invented the shotgun formation. He kind of sounds like a guy that's into shotguns.
Well, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, there
But
you
yeah,
have it. We can thank the San Francisco 49ers and Red Hickey for the shotgun formation. Tell me something
yeah.
about the Cowboys, Deeb.
Cowboys have the most consecutive winning seasons at 20. I did look it up. So the record is 20 years or consecutive seasons in a row. It was from 1966 to 1985. It was all under their coach, Tom Landry. So they had the same coach throughout those 20 years, which is kind of crazy. They made
Yeah.
the playoffs 18 times and won 2 Super Bowls. And that streak ended in 1986 when they finished 7-9.
Wow. That's a crazy stat. Like 20 winning seasons in a row is insane. it makes sense. They're called America's team, but for the last 20 years, they haven't really been that special. So it makes sense that there's some deep rooted history there that kind of made them have that title of America's team, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um,
So
go ahead.
yeah, so Scott, tell us about oh yeah, you have the next one. Sorry, what am I doing? Go ahead. Tell us
Yeah.
about the Lions.
The Lions, the only NFC team with zero Super Bowl appearances. So in the Super Bowl era, the Lions have never made it, not even made it to the big dance, which is crazy because they were so close a couple of years ago when they lost to, I think it was the 49ers, if I recall. Um, yeah, the only team in the NFC, though, that's never made it there.
Which is interesting, but I was curious because I know that there was like before the Super Bowl, right? There was that whole era,
Hmm.
and they have actually won. I think it was called like the NFL championship or whatever it was. So they have actually won that, but yeah, they
Back
have
in like
not.
what, before like 1965 or something. I feel like the Super Bowl's been out for like 50 years, 60 years.
Yeah, it was like in the four. If I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in the 40s. Is
Crazy.
when they won, like the 50s or 40s or something like that. So yeah, it's been way too long. Let's put it that way.
What do you got about the Buccaneers?
The Buccaneers are undefeated in the Super Bowl. So they have, and I'm trying to make sure I get this right. Is it 2 Super Bowls total? Yeah,
Yeah.
2 Super Bowls all time, and one of them was in 2021 with, these are both in our lifetime.
Yep.
2021, obviously, when Tom Brady went there, and then 2003 when they faced Oakland. So only an N of 2, some would call that, is that really a crazy stat? But, they haven't lost, so they're undefeated so far.
I think the crazier stat is then in that first Super Bowl they were in, they played against the Raiders, and Rich Gannon was their Super Bowl quarterback, and he threw
Yeah.
5 interceptions in the Super Bowl.
Hey, Rich Gannon was, a legend, but not in that game. Let's put it that way. The,
um,
Tampa Bay quarterback was Brad Johnson.
of course it was. This is an interesting one I had never heard of before, but the Philadelphia Eagles' former owner, Bert Bell, actually created the NFL draft.
Oh,
So kind of came out of Philadelphia's ownership, I suppose. And interesting thing about that is that it's primarily been hosted in Ohio. So there's not really a lot of tradition that ties it to Philadelphia.
interesting. Did it say what year?
Let me look that up really quick.
Or was it I'm kinda curious, like, what happened before the NFL draft? Was it just, like,
Oh,
how
well, let
how
me.
how did that work, you know? I'm actually curious about that, like, was it just like, "Hey, like, you wanna be on my team? Like, come on over, buddy."
Yep. So I have the answer just from a very quick Google search. So this is a Google search. These are not verified facts. But the first draft was in 1936. So, and it
Oh,
actually was held in a hotel and a Ritz Carlton in Philadelphia. So it did
wow.
actually start there. Um, and the intention for the draft, the reason it was created was to prevent bidding wars between teams, um, to try and like stop the teams from just throwing money to lure players away from each other. It sounds like
Hmm,
it was very low key back then. There was no media coverage. There was only 90 eligible players in the draft, so a lot has changed. But yeah, that actually originated from a former Philadelphia Eagles owner named Bert Bell.
hmm. Well, maybe I'll have to find and see if that Ritz-Carlton is still existing in
There
Philly
you
when I'm
go.
there.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll
Yeah,
just
and
ha
then I'll leave it to you for our last one here, Deeb. The Rams. What do you have? What's our fun fact for the Rams?
Yeah, so they're the only team to win championships in 3 different cities, and I know that we had to look this up. So, obviously, you have Los Angeles, you have the St. Louis Rams, which I know, Scott, you know all too well,
Very
and
well. Yep.
then, the one that's not as well known is the Cleveland Rams. So they were there from 1936 to 1945, and in their final year, they were the 1945 NFL champions with quarterback Bob Waterfield, who also apparently played defensive back, kicker, and punter. So,
That's
yeah.
crazy. And you said that was in 1945, so that was still like 22 years before the first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But technically still a championship at the time. I think it was called the NFL championship or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
There you
Yeah.
have it. I grew up in St. Louis. I've been, acquainted with the Rams my whole life. I say acquainted because I'm not a fan anymore, but I never ever knew that they were in Cleveland. I knew that they were in LA and then St. Louis and then back to LA. Never had any insight to the history that they were actually in Cleveland for a while. So the more you know.
All right. And that is NFL interesting facts for the week.
Yeah. And we will revisit this. We still have obviously 26 more teams to burn through here. So hopefully you liked it. Let us know what you think, and we'll keep doing this.
All right. Changing gears from what we've talked about a lot, which is football. NBA is right around the corner, Scott. So I know we talked a little bit about your boy LeBron. Apparently, I think he's also has an injury and is going to be out for a little while to
Of
start here,
course.
which
Yep.
I mean, again, very longevity of his career, but interesting start to this year, which could potentially be his last. We'll see. Um, anyways, NBA early season predictions. So we have 4 categories we're going to go through. And really, this is just kind of talking about, what our general thoughts are. I know we're not as acclimated and, we don't watch and or I don't even claim to be nearly as big of an NBA fan as I am for other sports, but
Yeah. Only
we're
in
going
the
to take a
playoffs.
stab. Yeah, we're going to take a stab at it to just, put this out there and see how it does maybe mid-season and then at the end of the season we can come back and revisit this. So, regular season MVP, Scott, what are your thoughts? And for historical purposes, I can let you know uh Shy Gillius Alexander is who won it last year.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, I
FYI.
remember the foul merchant or the free throw merchant.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy. No one complains about his flopping nearly as much as people complained about LeBron and Westbrook and Harden and all those guys.
Yeah.
But this guy does it. He does it with the best of them.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean Shea's cool. Shea's good. He's the favorite again this year to win the award, which makes sense. He just won it last year, but I'm gonna go a different direction, and I don't even know.
Also, why did I call him Shy?
Yeah, I was just gonna
I'm
let you do
I'm a
that. That's
bot,
fine.
dude. What? Yeah, I don't know what. I was like reading his name, like I was like, I didn't was like, who the fuck is this?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. So I don't even know like where things stand with injury status. I'm assuming he's okay because I just looked up for a frame of reference. I looked up the odds because I was curious about this guy, and this is a shot in the dark here because obviously you can always go with like the Joker and Jokic, and you got Luca, you got Shea, you got all these guys, you got Giannis, and you got Anthony Edwards, but one person who, if they're healthy and able to play their game the way they were playing it last year, that got hurt, I think Wimby could be the MVP this year. So I'm gonna say Victor Wembanyama, and that's with hopes that he has a fully healthy season this year.
I kind of figured that's who you were gonna pick when I looked at the odds, and I was like, huh, this should be interesting. I like that one too. Like you said, I mean, if he can stay healthy, the guy's a freak. Like he's so tall. He shoots threes. He blocks. Like he can do everything, right? Like he can score. I mean, definitely, I think he would be at one of the top people on my list. I actually think Anthony Edwards. I think when I looked it up on ESPN, he was plus 18 right now. Um, and he's what, 6th or 7th on the list of people. But
Yeah.
I think he had some really good momentum last year. They went to the playoffs. They beat the Lakers. And then, couldn't really, I think, get it done and, when it mattered. Obviously, still a young team and he's a younger player, but he strikes me as somebody that could make an MVP run this coming year. So I'm going to go with him as a favorite for me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I could definitely see that happening. Yeah, and I just as a reminder, the Wimby, I keep saying it was an injury, but it was a DVT, right? Like he had a
Yeah.
blood clot issue, and I think that gives me even more hope. I I think he's gonna be fine if that doesn't return. He was dominating last like, his stats were phenomenal, so I'm gonna ride that wave, but Anthony Edwards is a great pick. I think you're definitely onto something there, and we'll see. I mean, so many things can happen in the NBA, and I
Yeah.
feel like it's so much different than it used to be where it was like, "Oh, it's either gonna be like Curry, Durant, or LeBron." Like, it just feels like that it could go many directions now compared to in, like, the mid-2010s where it was just the same 2 teams that were good every year and the same, like, 3 to 5 players that you could only consider for MVP.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And now you have, a mixture of skill players and big guys. I mean, I'd still call the big guys skill player these days, but like
Mhm.
Jokic, Wemby, Giannis, those are all three big men that are skilled players as well. And then you have, kind of your more traditional people like Shea, Luca, Ant Man, all these different people. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
all right, who do you have for Eastern Conference champs?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I feel like, they were hot last year. They're just kinda onto something here, man. I think they could ride that wave and go further this year.
Oh man, that's a good one. Trying to remember, was it the Pacers that won last year?
Yeah, the Pacers until well, they won the conference championship, yeah.
Hmm.
You gotta
It's
think that
in.
they're not gonna have Halliburton. I mean, his injury
Did
was horrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did they? Is there any updates on what happened or like?
Let me
I
see.
haven't looked, but I don't know if he's out for like the entire year this year or anything weird, but
Maybe not the whole year, but I mean, he just tore his Achilles in like June, like it hasn't really been that long.
yeah. I don't know though. They were really good. I mean, I know he's definitely part of that team, but that was who I was gonna pick. But then, yeah, I mean, the injury definitely that can make a difference. I'm gonna
We'll
go with
miss this
yeah,
is just one website, but we'll miss the entire season is what I'm reading.
yeah. Okay, that makes more sense of why their odds suck. Because I know he's a key part of that. I'm gonna go with the hmm. Give me the Knicks. I think
Ooh, okay.
The Knicks were really surprising last year. Um, and I think they can make a run at it this year. So I'm gonna pick the Knicks preliminarily here and see if they continue on with their momentum from last year or they suck as well. Or they go back to being not as good, I guess, from the past.
Hell yeah.
What about Western Conference?
I wanna go with my heart here, and I'm just gonna say the Lakers. They've got more time to prep and to build teams with Luka being on the team now. I know LeBron is gonna be hurt for a few weeks, but I do think that's Luka's team to take over. And if this is the last year that I ever get to watch LeBron James play basketball, even though he does stupid ass Hennessy announcements, I gotta at least go on the record and say that they're gonna win their conference.
I like how you just had to throw that in there. Oh wow. My surprise pick is gonna be the Rockets. I think again they played really well last year. They have Kevin Durant. I think he's getting later in his career, so I think hopefully he can make a run. They have Clint Capella. I think he's a pretty reasonable guy. I don't know. They just have a pretty talented roster overall. So give me the Rockets as maybe more of a little bit of a surprise compared to some other
Okay.
teams.
Yeah. I mean, they're up there. I think the only team in their conference that's ranked higher is the Nuggets. So I think it's very legitimate as a pick there.
Who do you got for the champs?
Well, obviously, it has to be one of those two teams, right? Otherwise, this wouldn't make any sense. I think, imagine how poetic this would be. The Cavaliers beat the Lakers in LeBron James's final NBA championship appearance. Give me the Cavs.
Wow. You just want him to get Hennessy'd.
I think that they're just I think they're the better team, to be quite honest here.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Rockets. I think it'd be cool to see Rockets Knicks, but I want Kevin Durant to be able to get a championship kind of quote unquote on his own away from Golden State.
Yeah,
Um,
well,
just
yeah.
to solidify that like he is a top whatever 20 NBA player of all time.
He's a bum. He went to the team that beat him in the playoffs the next year to win. He's a bum. No, I mean he's one of the best, if not the best, like just offensive basketball players of all time. I mean, he's clearly been dominant from all points on the floor, but I just I can't get over that to just immediately go to the team that beat you and then win with them. It's just kind of like, man, doesn't that make you hungry to want to beat them, not just go join them? I don't know. That's my soapbox.
Hey, if you can't beat them, join them.
Well, yeah, he's heard that before, clearly.
All right. Well, that is our NBA early season prediction. So we'll revisit this later in the year and see, are we way the hell off like our Penn State predictions, or are we or are we still tracking? Um
Been off a
so
lot this year. My college football resume is not great this season. I'm just gonna fully admit that.
yeah, at this rate, like UCLA is going to win the national championship or something. All right, it's time for the halftime pour, where we get
Hell yeah.
to incorporate some bourbon. And so, Scott, tell us what you're drinking tonight.
Well, I'm gonna be short and sweet, Deeb. This is I had this many times on the podcast now, but I've got the Rabbit Hill Cave Hill bourbon here. It's my last time having it because I just poured out the last part of the bottle here,
Uh oh.
and I will start to have some new bourbons on here again very soon after you and I go to the Bourbon Trail next month. But until then, I'm writing out the rest of what I got in the house here just to save some money and cut back on the budget because I know I'm going to be buying multiple bottles whenever we're in Kentucky. So nothing special tonight, nothing new, I should say. It's still a very tasty bourbon. $60. I would recommend it if you never had it. It's tasty, but there's a lot of good bourbons in that price range as well.
Nice. Well, we will make sure to get you some bottles in a month so we
Yes,
can
sir.
have some fun. All right. I have one that I've done in the past, but I don't think I've done it with our new format. Minor case, straight rye whiskey. Apparently, it's only aged for 2 years, Scott. So I don't know how they do it that quickly, but Limestone Branch Distillery, a very small distillery in Lebanon, Kentucky. I've actually been to the distillery. I think you have as well. It's interesting. Let's put it that way. Very eclectic place. Very interesting spot. Kind of feels like you're at your like neighbor's backyard. They have a reasonable shop going there, but it's just very different compared to some of the others. I give this one a score of 81. So reasonable, not the best, not the worst, but still a higher up pick. It's not like a 50 or something. It's a 90 proof whiskey. It's sherry casked finished. It gives me the smell of kind of like summer fruits. It's got a little bit of the floral notes to it. And it, of course, has that rye spice, which you can smell. I think this one, Scott, sticks out to me though, because number one, it's 35 bucks or about 35 bucks to find. So
Nice.
you can usually find it in most places. It's not, super hard to find or anything like that. But the taste, Scott, it's so interesting. It has kind of like this cherry, raisin, and almost like caramelized sugary notes to it, which is very unique for a rye. And so I love to drink this one straight. I am not huge on rye all the time, but this one's very unique, easy to find, and has a interesting, and it's a great mixer too if you want to mix drinks with it. So yeah, that's the bourbon that I'm drinking tonight,
Hell yeah,
or
man.
rye whiskey, I guess, not bourbon.
Well, I've had that one before and it is very tasty. So glad to hear you're enjoying it.
All right, so question of the week. We did the opposite of this. You reminded me tonight a while back, but now we have a similar question but different. What is your least favorite mixed cocktail featuring bourbon or whiskey, and why?
I had a really hard time thinking about this. I did try to think about this ahead of time. I usually don't read the questions, but um, I think for me, I'm probably going to go with the mint julep. I know that that is very popular in like the Kentucky Derby, and it's been around. It's an old drink. I actually looked this up. It's been around since the year 900, apparently.
Mm.
But for me, I feel like maybe I've just had bad ones. but the mint flavor kind of almost overpowers the flavor of the bourbon. And I also feel like a lot of times when I drink minty drinks, you get like little pieces of like the leaves or the mint like in your mouth. And I like my drinks neat. So not a great reason. Maybe I just need to go to the Kentucky Derby and have a real mint julep, but that's probably going to be my answer for tonight.
That's fair. I don't know that I've actually ever had an official mint julep, so maybe I'll have to order one when we go to Kentucky and see
Yeah,
if
you know what?
what they're about.
We'll do a little 90-second video on it to follow up the podcast.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be fun. Mine is actually a very popular drink, believe it or not, in this world. And it's a Manhattan.
I knew you were going to say that
How did you know that?
because I have ordered Manhattans around you before and you never order them too. You only ever order like old fashions in that situation.
Yeah, either old fashioned or whiskey sour. So I don't know. I was trying to look up like what do you use to make it, and trying to like pinpoint of why. And I think honestly, what it might be is the sweet vermouth. I think sometimes, and I've also had ones that are just almost like too cherry or something tasting. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if that's because of the cherries they use or they put something else in them, but I've just had not great experiences with Manhattans. And I know it's a very simple drink to make. So I'm like, how do you get it wrong? So maybe it's just like the drink itself, but I would definitely take an old fashioned or a whiskey sour over a Manhattan any day. So that's probably my least favorite, other than the whiskey sour at the karaoke bar here where I live, that Scott, I know you're very familiar with. That was probably the most disgusting drink I've ever had in my life at a bar. But other than that, it's a Manhattan.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I like old fashions better, so I will at least concede that. But I think Manhattans are fine.
Yeah,
It must be the vermouth. I think that's what it is.
something weird. All right, community call outs. You want to do the fan of the week and I can do the hater of the week?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, thanks for your assistance this week. I just took a bit of a break with all the work I was doing over the weekend from the social media. Fan of the week was Doob20 on TikTok talking about Oregon. Said we really shit the bed. Maybe we needed a loss like this. We looked complacent and just got humbled. So you know what? I kind of agree with that. I think it's kind of nice to get one out of the way early, like they did. They can win out and still be well positioned to win a natty. So I agree with that, Doob.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was a follow-up 'cause, I think I had maybe responded to the comment and they had responded as well, so we kinda had a nice back and forth, but yeah, I think appreciate the honest comment and, just kinda the not calling us out, but more so just a fan who was like, "Ah, you guys made this prediction, but here's my thoughts on it." On the other side, we have haters of the week, Pittsburgh dude on TikTok. This was on a clip about us picking the Browns to be the upset over the Steelers. And he said, "You guys realize the Browns haven't won a regular season game in Pittsburgh since 2003, right?"
Which I
And
will say, we were betting. I know you said you thought they could upset, but we were betting on the spread on this clip
right.
too. It wasn't. I didn't necessarily think the Browns would beat the Steelers. I did think that the spread would be tight, and it wasn't. So I was still wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that the Browns had a nominal chance. Like we talked about the other week, like they did seem to be gelling a little bit more with the QB
Hmm.
shift. And I mean, their defense is pretty reasonable. Like, I don't think their defense is horrible. But man, they just could not put anything together. I mean, I watched parts of that game and yeah, it just wasn't good. But I did want to do a little fact checks because I was curious on this one. The Browns have actually beaten the Steelers in 2021, but it was in a wild card game in Pittsburgh. So it was a playoff game, not a regular season game. So, Pittsburgh, dude, you are right. But the Browns have more recently beat the Steelers. So it is possible that they can beat them.
Yeah, it was a wild shot, but the Steelers, despite having a decent record, haven't looked like a complete team much of this year. But they certainly did this week. They looked really good. So
Yeah.
kudos to them. got old Aaron Rodgers looking like he can play some football still, and we'll see what they do moving forward. They're looking kind of competitive.
All right, let's do some single barrel picks. How
Oh
about you?
boy.
The
Oh
part
boy,
that we're
let's get it.
so good at this year is college football, Scott.
I am getting destroyed in college football this year. It's getting embarrassing. I need a big week.
So right now our standings with the betting odds. So each week when we pick, we do pick with the betting odds, not just straight up. I am 13-11. I'm hanging on there, a little above 500, and Scott is 9-15. He's struggling a bit. And Scott, we both almost had the same exact picks last week, and it didn't do me any justice. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm getting uglier. Maybe maybe
I may
don't
just
maybe don't follow my bets this week if you're
I may
listening.
just pick the opposite of you just because I've seen your schedule or your pick percentages so far as my strategy.
That might be a reasonable strategy.
All right, game day style picks. Here we go. College football games. We have 5 of them this week. Um, First one, number 10 LSU at number 17 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a negative 2.5 favorite at home.
Ah, give me Vandy. I might regret it, but they're looking competitive, and LSU has been hot and cold. Give me Vandy. Ugh, give me Vandy.
All right. I actually like LSU in this. I like Vandy as a team. I'm not sure how Vandy is the favorite. I'm not going to lie, but I think LSU pulls it out and gets the, I guess, upset at home or away. So, number 20 USC at number 13 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a negative 8.5 favorite.
Notre Dame is garbage. They're overrated. Give me USC because of the spread. They might lose, but not by 8.5 points.
I agree. I do not like Notre Dame. I think they're overrated. I still don't know how they're ranked after losing all the games that they did early this year, but I think they are tough to beat at home. So I'm going to actually pick Notre Dame in this one.
You really are going opposite of me.
Not on purpose. Just these are my initial thoughts. Number 11 Tennessee at number 6 Alabama, and Alabama is a minus 8.5 favorite.
Oh gosh. I think Bama wins this game, but I think Tennessee is a respectable team. So give me Tennessee because of the spread.
Well, I think this was on one of the two truths and one lie, or was some one of the segments where it was like, when was the last time? But I think it was Tennessee, Georgia, not Tennessee, Bama.
Hmm.
I don't see Bama losing at home. Minus 8.5 might be steep, but I'm gonna take Bama. I think, like you said, Ty Simpson's rocking it out, and I think they're gonna shock Tennessee. Texas Tech minus 12.5 at Arizona State. Who do you got?
Oh, this sucks. Man, Arizona State hasn't been quite as good as I thought they might be this year, but they're at home. 12.5 is a lot. Give me Arizona State.
I got to go where put my money where my mouth is, Scott. Texas Tech is the team to beat, and so I have to go with Tech on this one. I think they beat them by at least 14.
Okay.
In our game of the week, number 5 Ole Miss at number 9 Georgia. Georgia is a 7.5 favorite.
Georgia's at home. They're going to expose Ole Miss. Give me Georgia.
Okay, I do believe that Georgia will win the game, but I think Ole Miss covers the spread, and for that reason, I pick Ole Miss in this one.
All right.
So those are the picks of the week. We'll see, Scott. We're on the opposite end of every single game. So one of us is going to be glorified and one of us is going to go to shit here.
Yeah. Or maybe we split them right down the middle. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep. We shall
Let's hop
see.
into NFL here. In NFL, you are 5-7 currently, and I am 6-6. So neither of us are doing too great here either. My record looked a lot
Yeah.
better last week. Last week didn't go so well for me.
Hmm.
Let's start with the first game here. Two 4-2 teams. The Rams are playing at Jacksonville against the Jags. Rams are 2.5 point favorites. Who you got?
I got the Rams.
I got to take the Rams too. The Jags have been an anomaly this year, and I just have to feel like they're going to fall back to where I thought they might be. They aren't the Colts, who they just keep winning. I think the Jags are better than I thought they would be, but I don't think they're good enough to beat the Rams.
Yeah.
Next game here, we got the Commanders going to Dallas to play against the Cowboys, and the Commanders are 1.5 point favorites. Who you got there?
And they just had a heartbreaking loss to the Bears last night. I If they lost to the Bears, they're gonna lose to the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys.
I actually have the Cowboys too, as much as I hate to admit that out loud. I think the Cowboys have been looking okay, even without CeeDee Lamb, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Next one here, Buccaneers going to Detroit to play the Lions. Lions are 5.5 point favorites here. What you got on that one?
Wow, this one's tough. I'm picking the Bucks because of the spread, but I think the Lions could win this game, mainly because they're at home. But I don't like the spread, so that's why I'm picking the Bucks.
I want to take the Bucks. I think they could actually win outright, so I definitely like the spread.
That's fair.
Game of the week, Colts at the Chargers. Never thought I would say that this year.
Mm.
Colts are visiting the Chargers. Chargers are 1.5 point favorites at home. Who you got in that one?
I've learned my lesson. I'm not picking against the Colts.
Well, we're going to pick all the same NFL teams because I'm right there with you. I cannot pick against the Colts anymore.
Oh
And the
no.
Chargers haven't looked as good the last couple of weeks. So they
Yeah.
did win. They did win this week, but it was not a pretty game.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Well, that's single barrel picks. Let's see how that goes. Hopefully, I pick up some college games on you because I'm getting my ass whooped.
all right. You ready for the 2-minute warning?
Yep. Let's hop into it.
All right. I'll ask the first question.
Okay. And go.
All right. Would you rather be sponsored by Preparation H or be known for crying during every post game interview?
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with crying. Unless yes, I'll give me the crying. I'll be vulnerable. I'll be vulnerable.
Weak.
Would you rather hit a home run but forget to touch home plate or celebrate the wrong touchdown?
I don't even know what celebrating the wrong touchdown means.
Like
So,
if the other team scores instead of your team.
oh, I'd probably rather do that one. I guess hitting a home run and not touching the home plate would really suck. So, at least
Okay.
the other one would be kind of funny. Um, are you gonna wear Crocs during every sporting event or always have your fly down on camera?
I've never worn Crocs before.
Ooh,
Is this as a spectator or actually playing in the sporting event?
I think spectator.
Give me my fly down.
Look at that right there. Give me the Croc.
Would you rather get stiff armed by Derrick Henry or dunked on by a middle schooler?
Definitely stiff arm by Derrick Henry because he's a pro. If I got dunked on by a middle schooler, that would be embarrassing.
Fair enough.
Would you rather spend a weekend trapped in a film room with Bill Belichick or on a party bus with Marshawn Lynch?
Oh, easy. I'm partying with Marshawn Lynch. Get me on that bus.
Hell yeah.
Would you rather be caught faking an injury or miss the game because you have a paper cut?
Faking an injury. That's at least less embarrassing. Would you rather have a commentator call you sneaky athletic every time or always be a locker room guy?
Ooh. I kind of like the idea of being the sneaky athletic guy because it means that people are underestimating me and I'm kind of over exceeding their expectations. But nothing wrong with the locker room guy. You got to have those two.
Hell yeah.
And that's our 2-minute warning, my friend.
Well, What that means now, Scott, is it's time for the last call, where just like at the bar when they call for the last call, it's time for us to kick you out and say goodbye. And with that, how would you like to say goodbye tonight?
I just 40 is crazy. We've had 40 episodes now, and what a journey we've been on. It's been such a fun time to help keep myself caught up with sports, but also to hang out with you and to make content that we can kind of share with others and just generate different conversations. So feeling very blessed that we've done this for 40 weeks now. It's kind of insane, and just really looking forward to the next 40 weeks to come after this. But we got some milestones coming up, and we might have some in-person content coming up soon, and just really looking forward to, the near future of the journey on that we're on.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been a wild ride. I've learned a ton as well, and I know you have as well. As we've evolved and changed things, made improvements, kind of taken feedback and all that kind of thing. So if you all are still here, you're still listening, or even if this is your first episode or you're just getting into it, as always, thank you so much for staying with us, for engaging, or for joining us for the first time. And with that, friends, we will say cheers.